I have more than 15 years of experience in C, C++, in Windows and Unix environment, database, SQL, Sybase, and I have worked almost 9 years in USA with the different banking and financial client like S&P, Moody's Investor Services, and a big client like GE Healthcare. I have worked on. In India, I also work with the financial technologies, and more than 1 year, I am in this freelancing teaching career. So yeah, I mean, I have worked on the mostly the development part, so I can guide the team proper way to code and the best way to code. So I'll start with the OOPS concept. Basically, if you have understand basic C, so C++, what we can say, it is the extension of C. There are many limitations in the C programming which are overcome by the C++. In C, we can see is the procedure oriented programming, also method oriented programming. All we can see is the sequence of instruction with some functions. But in C, we cannot implement the real world problems. We cannot in proper way. So then comes to the C++ or OOPS programming, object oriented programming. With OOPS, we can relate with the real world problems. So there are many OOPS feature that in C++ or any other object-oriented programming, there are some classes, objects, encapsulation, data hiding, abstraction, data abstraction, inheritance, polymorphism. So these are the main concept of any object-oriented programming. But in C++, if we talk about specific C++, so class is nothing but a blueprint of object. It is a user-defined data type, and in C++, everything is more around class and object. We uh, like in C, everything is related to method, but in C++, we deal with the objects. So what is the syntax of class? We use the class keyword and class name, say distance, basis, and class definition end with the semicolon. So concept called access specifier. So okay, so we will talk about that later. First, it is a user defined data type and is a blueprint of object. And what is object? It is a live instance of class. And what is encapsulation? Encapsulation is the wrapping up of data and function into single unit is called the encapsulation. These are the definition only. I'm just telling you the definition. The real meaning of OOPS concept is the data hiding. In C, what we have seen, anyone can use the data. Data freely move around the program. But in C++, we have restricted with the help of data hiding or the private access specifier. So with the data hiding concept and with the private access specifier, it is visible to only the member function of the class. Outside of the class, user cannot access it. Okay, we can see the practical example and the real world how we can use in the projects. Data abstraction is nothing but showing only essential features that are required to user. It's called the data abstraction. You can see in the C programming, we use printf and scanf function. We directly use printf and scanf function. We don't know the details implementation of these two functions. We can directly use this two function. Or another example, real world example is the remote TV remote control. We know only the upper body, what button we need to press. Inside implementation, we don't need to bother. So this is the similar concept, data abstraction and inheritance. See, it is called the reusability. Means if we are creating one class and later on if we need to reuse some properties of the class, then we can derive uh, the derived class from the base class. So it is called the reusability. We will go one by one, and polymorphism is one name, many form. Okay, so basically in C++, there are two type of polymorphism. One is the compile time polymorphism and one is the runtime polymorphism. Okay, so we will see the example of compile time polymorphism like function overloading, operator overloading, and runtime polymorphism, we call it the virtual function. So these are the basics of C++ object-oriented programming concept. We will elaborate each and every topic. First, discuss about the class. Class is the user-defined data type. Okay, so here is the class syntax. Class is the keyword. Distance is the class name. Okay, now inside this we can create any number of variables like feet, inches. So basically, why this class or ops concept is important, because here are the, they provide the three access specifier. One is the public, other is the private, and third is the protected. This data handling concept or OOPS concept belongs to mainly these three keyword: public, private, and protected. So if we are declaring any member as a public, that means it is publicly available outside the class. Okay, if I am creating any data member as a private, that means that data member cannot access outside of the class. Okay, protected belongs to inheritance part, so we can discuss that at the time of inheritance. Okay, so here you cannot assign any value directly here, like in C programming. You create any data item like any data type like or variable integer I equal to 10, you can do that, but here we cannot assign directly any value to class member variable. You must create an object, and that object will create an instance or memory in memory allocated for that particular variables. If I am creating a object b1 for this distance, so there is a separate memory area allocated for this two member variable feet and inches in the memory based on the data type or size of the data type. In the 64-bit system, if integer, then it is 4 byte, and float will be 4 byte. So whatever the system we are using, based on the size of data type, it will allocate the memory, and we can assign particular value to variable. If I am assigning d1 dot feed, so dot member, this operator we use to access the data item of the class. Okay, so you can see this is a public, so we can directly access d1 dot feet equal to 11. If you try to use d1 dot inches, then try to assign any value, then this should give you error, because this is the private member and we cannot access outside of the class, so it should give you the error. Okay, so these are the data heading, means this inches is the hide from the user from outside of the class. So that's called the data hiding. Now, how we can use this data item? Through the member function, we can use this private member. So you can create any function get inches, and you can return particular private member from this function, and you can call this function here with the help of object name, and you will get the value. Now here you are assigning this value to this member variable. Now there are two more concept, we call it the constructor and destructor comes into the picture with the in this class concept. So what is constructor and what is destructor? So basically constructor, see, once you declare a data member variable in the class, and once you create the object, so this constructor gets automatically called and initialize the variables. So there are some features of the constructor, like this name, same name as the class name. Okay, no return type, no return type. Okay, so and it should initialize the member variable of the class. Okay, and it is a member function of the class. It should be public. There are some scenario where we use constructor as a private constructor, so that is a different altogether concept. But normally we make it public. Okay, so similarly, okay, constructor should be public, so its names should be same name as the class name. So we can initialize the value, default value here. So once you create the object D1, it get automatically called and feed and ingest will be initialized to 0. There are three type of constructor. This is called the default constructor. There is another constructor we call the parameterized constructor, and third is the copy constructor. So default constructor have no parameter. Parameterized constructor have some parameter into it. So we can assign this to feed equal to f, which is equal to in. Okay. So here, if what we can do, we can create another object D2 and pass the parameter like feet and inches. So for D2, when you create the D2 object, the 10 will goes to feet and 2.3 will goes to inches. And with the, for the D1, it's a default constructor we will call, and 0 and 0.0 will be for feet and inches. Third one is the copy constructor. Copy constructor is also when copy constructor is when we are copying from one object to another object. Okay, there is a also similar concept assignment operator. There's a different thing, but copy constructor is a different thing. Okay, so these are the basic concept of class and object. Syntax of copy constructor. Okay, so now next thing is these, you can see these are all the member variable, and these are the member function. We can write our own member function like get inches, and in mostly projects we use the getter and setter to fetch the member variable of the class. What is destructor? Destructor is a similar a feature like same name as the class name, no return type. It should be member function of the class, and it should be public. The difference is it is preceded by the tilde character. This is the character. So and it should name the same name as the class name, and this is the destructor. Okay, so constructor basically construct the object, destructor destroy the object. But why we need actually? So when we use the dynamic memory allocation and we use the new and delete operator, so with the help of new we allocate the memory in the heap area. So to get rid of this, if we are not using that memory, then in the destructor we can delete that memory. So mostly destructor used to deallocate the memory area. Other uses also to close the file handle and many other things. So this is the destruct the object.